It looks like the Selene chapter is going to be next week instead. It made sense on this chapter why we didn't end up getting further Selene info, but we did get Elantir information, and we got information on White Witch, as well as a name for the character we've known. And I've said it probably like 80 million times. I am perfectly happy with finding out the character names. Like, there's never a time where we get some character that's, oh, I've been around for a long time, but I'm just not gonna have my name stated for who knows what reason. That's always something that to me is just like, I can't wait until we get that damn name. Like, I got the name for the anti-magic devil, and I got name for the, you know, the character who we thought was the White Witch in the same week, right? And I am very happy about that. I've expressed before, it brings me great joy to know that I no longer have to worry about just what am I going to refer to this character as? What exactly am I going to be going with? But now we have one, Ferris, and again, even if it's not who I thought the character was in total, I'm perfectly fine with finding out who exactly she is to a degree of getting her name. So I will be very much for joy in this chapter, at least for that. Anyway, let's talk about the chapter itself. Let's talk about just some of the important things really to go off of, finding out about Elantir in general. Like, we know now that Elantir is, you know, it already was the original target for the Anima Project, and it was because of Selene that the Edelus people just did not bother with Elantir at all, because if she targeted them, they're done. And the thing is, like, Edelus characters, they're very best tapped out at like wizard saint level, and that's obviously not gonna fly at all for a dragon god. Like, and especially now they have no magic, they have no real means of defending themselves. Like, if Selene showed up and she wanted to throw hands, that'd be it. Like, they don't have any means to really defend against that. She's too powerful. But like, we see that they decided to avoid that situation. They said, nope, we're just not going to deal with it. We're not even going to mess with Elantir. We're just going to go for Earthlight. And that's obviously what led into, you know, the events of the Edelus arc and all the characters that were related to it, Mystigun and whatnot. But we're just giving some like general information about like Elantir in general and how it's the opposite of Edelus. I think we could have, like, I think everybody could have already picked up on that. Like, it has like this just way more magic than Earthland, and I like Natsu thinking of just like how powerful he'll be like inside there. So that, I think that's going to be really cool, because not only are we going to see the characters like the main cast more powerful than they would be regularly, but we'll also be running into, I would imagine, a lot of more powerful characters who are able to just kind of be more powerful from the fact that we are going to be in a realm where magic is way more prominent. There's going to be way more for them to kind of have to contend with. So it makes sense of why there'd be characters who are generally more powerful. Like, I don't think we're going to be like, oh, every single character is like Spriggan level or something. But I feel like there's going to be at least a handful of Selene's, like, you know, soldiers, whether she's going to be directly in control of them, or if it's going to be something like, oh, she sends them in and she's manipulating them, or whatever her kind of level of influence is over them. Doesn't really matter, but I can see a couple of them being competition for the main cast. Again, I think that's perfectly fine. If it was just randomly that it was just characters that are as powerful enough to contend with them, I'd kind of be like, I don't know how much I feel about that. Diablos is kind of an exception, because we don't know the entire circumstances with Diablos. We don't know exactly how they got so powerful, and, you know, where exactly are, you know, where's their power come from. There's stuff about the people in Diablos that we don't know about, but I think it'll be just fine going into Elantir. Granted, the main cast are going to be more powerful, but I feel like living inside of a generally way more powerful world would yield way more powerful people just in general. So we'll see exactly how that plays out. But we did get information that is, you know, ties further towards one of my theories about Elantir and the Exceed, because Toka ends up, you know, creating a portal coming through. I like that hers are just straight, like they look like just openings between space. She's not like vanishing and reappearing. It's like she's being transferred through these portals. And she starts talking about how she is she's from a world called Elantir, because she doesn't know that they're fully aware of what Elantir is. And she says that she's from a race called the Exceed. Now that means that she doesn't know of the history that the Exceed have in Edolis. She doesn't know, because there'd be no reason for her to introduce that she is an Exceed. Oh, I'm from a species called Exceed. You would have no reason to ever say anything about it if you knew that their world already had information on. So she just did not know about Edolis at all, which makes you wonder if she showed up here knowing that she wouldn't be able to use magic, or it's just something that she realized shortly after. Because like I said, her bringing up specifically that she's an Exceed raises a lot of questions that I've mentioned before. There'd be no reason to kind of like note about the Exceed, like the fact that she is she's not from the Exceed that left Extalia. She's not from the Exceed that went, I don't imagine she's one of the Exceed that went after the Dragon Slayers, the Dragon Slayers during the Dragon Slayer plan. I don't think it timeline wise is possible. But she even says that she got taken over by by Ferris, not by the White Wizard, because those are two different characters now. But she got taken over and brought over like a couple years back. So obviously she couldn't be from the Dragon Slayer plan of Exceed eggs that got transferred over. So that means that she, obviously being from Elantir, originating from Elantir, and her race, the Exceed, I think are going to be revealed. The Exceed originate from Elantir, because if they were in some way like originated from Edolis or Earthland and they just got over there, then how would she not know? Like, how would she not know about the events obviously that happened in it related to the Exceed in Edolis? And as well as, I still think it makes sense of why the Exceed would take on that kind of like almost godlike role when they went to Edolis, consider their ability to use magic, and they come from a world that's already superior. So man, it really sucks when you think about it, because when you think about it, like out of the three realms, Edolis is dead last. Like even before they had their magic drained, like back when it was normal, like their world was never as powerful as Earthland, and it was clearly never as powerful as Elantir. Edolis just getting dead last out of them. But then we're just getting like an explanation exactly on like how it happened. Like Toka had her body taken over by Ferris. Ferris used the Aqua Era, came over to Earthland, and it was because she was, when she was unstable, when she woke up after being separated from Toka, that Ferris used Aqua Era and brought the main cast into Edolis by mistake instead of Elantir. And there's even the flashback, she's like, if they can defeat Alderaan, then maybe they can defeat Selene. So she definitely is in a rough spot. I think we can all just guess Selene has to have something nefarious going on. I don't think that she's just, I'm in charge of Elantir. I think that she's definitely got her own nefarious things just kind of in the background. And she makes you wonder if the whole stuff with the White Wizard, if there is a singular character, or if it's gonna do like, there's been multiple people with the powers of Selene that she's been sending on these missions. So it's like over the last 100+ years that the idea of the White Wizard has built up, because the fact that it's a separate character, so it's either going to have it like the White Wizards gonna have their own arc, or it's gonna tie further into this arc with Selene and stuff. Like obviously it could go either way. There's a lot of mystery behind this, and I really want to figure out where it ties into the story right now, instead of like it's gonna be really cool to see what exactly goes on with the White Wizard. What is that gonna do for the story? But I'm really curious to know, is it going to tie into its own exclusive plot, or is it going to loop into something that already exists within the series, or another character, another big character, or maybe something that was mentioned at a previous date that they're gonna kind of bring back. Anyway, after that, like we have some nice moments when they're like getting ready to go leave and try and figure out how to progress their job, because they're like, yeah, we have to figure out more information on Selene. Like, they're after her, and they, you know, they got to do their job for the 100 Years quest. But they're like, Natsu is like trying to take Nasha with them, and Grace trying to take Grease, and it's like, no, these are alternate universe year kids, sort of, but like not really. You can't steal them, you can't take them with you on your journey. Just leave them here, you freaking goofballs. But they're now just gonna be like, okay, we're gonna have the Daedalus fairy tale look around to find out where the, you know, who they thought was the White Wizard. Obviously this is Ferris. And then we get some like old nostalgia stuff, like, oh, what happened with the X-Balls, because Toka can't use magic in Daedalus, we know that obviously, and still have this thing that Mystigun used in order to give Fairy Tail members magic for a brief period of time while they were inside of Daedalus, gives it to Toka, and things are progressing. Now we're getting away from the Daedalus characters, and as nice it is for nostalgia, and it kind of does some extra bits to their story to give us like a heads up on what's happening, but we couldn't have been here for long. I've noted that. I think a lot of people know that. Like, we couldn't stand around here for long. It's like, it's, I know like that there's obviously more to the story, but when you have a you know, a series that has a lot of action and stuff, if you steer away from that for too long, I think, especially with the bi-weekly status, it can kind of drag stuff down a little bit. Like, I was recently going through the Daedalus arc again, obviously, because, you know, we're doing Daedalus recap stuff. But the first portions of Daedalus, like when Natsu and everybody can't use their magic before they get it back, it moves a lot slower, and there's not enough going on, I think, to justify it. And I feel like we're beginning kind of the same thing in Daedalus. Like, we're already at a good amount of chapters, just like 3 chapters or so of important lore stuff. That's, I think, the difference is, like, through this we've gotten like a lot of important stuff with like Selene and Elentier, and even like side character stuff that was important, you know, getting to see like the, you know, Grisha and Nasha, I think was really, I think it's going to do a lot for both the fandom, but it's going to help help a little bit with the character's progression. Like, we're going to get probably some nice scenes with Natsu and Lucy, I think, following up after seeing this character, after seeing Nasha. So, like, they end up like getting the White Witch, you know, quote unquote the White Witch, found and located. We're just, you know, waving goodbye to the Daedalus people. I like Daedalus Coco. I like her design. I like seeing her again. She's pretty happy. Daedalus Sugar Boy actually looks kind of cool. I think that it's just because they made him bigger and they gave him those kind of like curls in the back, give him almost like a mullet. I think he just looks better. Hughes is all right. I'm just commenting on them as we go. Mystigun's Mystigun is relatively about the same. I like Nightwalker with this long hairstyle. I think that looks really nice. And Byro, like, I don't know, he just looks older. We did get a nice moment between Scarlet and Nightwalker when she's like asking if there's a version of Jalal inside of Earthland, and she's like, oh, you know, treasure him, he's important. And Ursa's just like, yeah, of course. And I think that's, again, I think that's telling for what'll happen in the next arc. I still think Jalal is going to be relevant going into Selene. We'll see about that one. And then when the characters meet up with the White Witch, I like that we have like Natsu a little bit upset and Lucy stepping in and kind of like, hey, calm yourself down, puts an arm up. I did like that a lot, just from like a small character scene. But now we have the character Ferris, as she's explaining. She is not the White Wizard. She only came over recently, and she's been using like the guides of the White Wizard in order to progress her plans. And she had been put on a task to wait out Earthland's magic. She was on a mission, and she's like, the Elentier will be destroyed by the hands of the moon dragon god Selene. So that's what I was talking about when it comes to the White Wizard, is I'm wondering if the White Wizard is going to be exclusively be like its own story, or if it's going to tie further into the stuff with Selene. Because is it going to be like, oh, Selene needed, you know, to send people off on a regular basis, and it's just the story of them collectively becomes the White Wizard? Is this going to be a separate character? I don't know. But Elentier, like, being in danger, I think makes a lot of sense with what we saw with her character. I think her desperation for victory on this, obviously, she like shows a lot of her, like, because she definitely came off as malicious and malefic, but like I don't really see her as pure evil, because she was doing bad things for what she thought was ultimately good, and it's to her own world. I think that she just kind of like went about it way too aggressively, but we'll see. There's obviously like her character can be redeemed. She hasn't done so much that her character can't be redeemed. Like for the most part, she did control a lot of people, but I don't think it's as, she obviously doesn't have Zeref levels of terror to her, and the fact that she isn't the White Wizard means that she doesn't have like a bunch of countless dark stuff that we have to take into account, because that's one thing you'd have to look at Zeref. It's like there's still so much of Zeref's like tragedies and nightmares he's caused in the world that were never shown, but obviously would have happened in the course of 400 years. Whereas with her, you don't have that extra baggage of just like, oh yeah, all the people that additionally that we've seen were tortured or enslaved or killed or whatever. It's just her, and I think that builds her a better case and makes it so she's not gonna just be directly in in a state where you'd have to go over the top to redeem her. As of right now, I think she's definitely within range of it being plausible without it having to be too absurd. So I'm guessing though, when we get to the next chapter, we're actually going to get the Selene chapter. I figured it'd be this chapter, but it does make sense that the Edelus people not knowing a lot about Selene, if they got the basic information about her and then did everything they could to avoid her beyond that. So obviously it's just like once they found out that there's the possibility of this character, they just did not fuck with her anymore at all. They didn't take the risk. They just said, nope, we're not doing it. We're not going to be doing anything against this dragon. If she comes over, we're done. So again, that's fine. Selene though, I feel that Ferris will have a lot of information on. If like she got tasked from her and comes from Ellentir, she's going to know the situation way better than say the Mistogun. So the next chapter, I feel like we're actually going to get a lot of Selene lore. I thought it'd be this one, but I did like getting the Ellentir information as well as getting info on Ferris. I thought that was really big. And just what's to come next. Like I said, I feel like now we're definitely going to get the Selene stuff, because I figured we were going to get it from Mistogun, but like I said, it makes sense that we wouldn't get any from Mistogun, that they wouldn't have anymore. But Ferris should absolutely have information on Selene and be able to tell us about like what's going on over in Ellentir. Anyway, other than that though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but for the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. Further than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, so thank you all for listening. Bye.